Hello, good evening from Anglia News. Thousands of children in our region have been affected by a controversial test boycott by primary school head teachers. More than 200 schools in the Anglia region have joined the anti-SATS protest. Teaching unions say the tests are bad for pupils and bad for education, but some parents are concerned that their children are being denied the chance to take the exams. Rhiannon Mills reports.
It's a testing week for Bron Lister-Smith. As head teacher at Richmond Avenue Primary in Shoebury-Ness, she's cancelled the SATS exams. She believes that testing 10 and 11-year-olds isn't the answer to a better education.
I think they're very stressful for children, teachers and parents, and I don't believe we get the best out of the children when they sit them. Furthermore, there would be a better judgment of them if teacher assessment was trusted more.
Almost all councils in our region have reported some schools refusing the tests today, though in most it was fewer than 1 in 10. The biggest boycott came in Hertfordshire, where 69 schools refused. In Essex and Southend it was 42, and in Norfolk 44. At Barnham Broom Primary near Norwich, they're going to be avoiding the tests this week, even though the children usually do well, because the head feels it's too stressful for children and teachers. And many parents I spoke to in Essex agree.
I'm actually quite pleased because it makes them feel useless if they don't get very top marks.
The only thing I was disappointed mainly that they've made them do an all exams leading up to it, which I didn't think was pointless really for them to do that.
I think it's too much pressure for them, too much peer pressure.
So what are the SATS tests? Well, they were introduced in 1991 to assess children's progress. The results are then used to draw up league tables of how well schools are performing. They take place at the end of each key stage of education, so at 7, 11 and 14. Today's boycott, though, only affects the tests for 10 to 11-year-olds, which focus on maths and English skills. The Government Education Department believes that cancelling them isn't in the children's best interests, saying they want to work with teachers on the best way of assessing pupils. But it has left lots of head teachers in a difficult position. Many disagree with SATS, but aren't boycotting them because they fear for their jobs and say the children have been studying hard. At Alfred Street Junior School in Rushden, they are sitting their tests.
The children have been preparing for these for months, and there's a lot of work gone in to prepare for them, and when we talked to the children, there were a number of them who had been very disappointed if we hadn't done the tests. And then secondly, I think it's too late in the day to make the decision. If this decision was to be made earlier in the year, we would have worked differently with the children in the last few months.
While some pupils won't be taking these exams, others of course will, and there's no doubt this is a huge test for our education system. Both parents and teachers will be watching the results of it very closely. Rhiannon Mills, Anglia News at Shoebury-Ness in Essex.
An investigation is underway tonight after another light aircraft crashed into a car at an airfield in Essex. Amazingly, no one was killed in the incident in North Weald. The car's occupants dragged the pilot from the plane's wreckage, as Tom Barton now reports.
This was an accident which could have been so much worse. Amazingly, the 2 people in this Volvo were unhurt. They pulled themselves from the car and then pulled the pilot from the burning wreckage, probably saving his life.
Their quick reactions with the pilot, we dragged him out before the airplane actually caught fire, obviously saved his life. Yes, he has injuries, but they're fortunately not life-saving, and we wish him well.
So, what sort of condition is he in?
As I understand it, leg injuries, head lacerations and damage to one eye.
The accident happened at around 2:30 yesterday afternoon.
Exactly what happened is still unclear, but it seems that the pilots had difficulty landing on this runway. He was forced to take off again, but moments later his plane crashed.
North Weald Airfield has a volunteer fire service. They were on the scene within seconds.
2 of the guys were covering a motorsport event which was held in another part of the airfield, and they got a call on the radio that an aircraft had crashed into a car. So they've responded to that, come round to find the pilot being dragged clear by the occupants of the car, and then they've obviously put the fire out before Essex Fire and Rescue have turned up.
The wreckage is being kept at the airfield awaiting the arrival of the Air Accident Investigation Branch. The pilot, described by friends as an experienced flyer, remains in hospital. Tom Barton, Anglia News at North Weald Airfield in Essex.
Well, meanwhile, one person's died after a light aircraft crashed and burst into flames in a field in Norfolk. Emergency services were called to farmland in Old Buckingham just before 6:30 last night. They discovered the plane well alight at the bottom of a dip. It's believed the pilot was the only person on board. The Air Accident Investigation Branch is carrying out an investigation. Police investigating an armed robbery at a Suffolk post office have released an image of the type of getaway car that was used. A blue Ford Mondeo was used to leave the scene in Capel, St Mary last Wednesday. A man in his 40s and wearing a mask threatened staff with a handgun before escaping with a quantity of cash. No one was injured. Police are appealing for a witness following a fatal car crash in Essex. It happened just after 10:30 on Saturday night at Sybil Headingham. A grey Renault Clio left the road and collided with trees on Delvin End. 20-year-old Lee DePino, who was the front seat passenger, died at the scene. The department group Vergo Retail, which has stores across East Anglia, has gone into administration. Vergo has 19 stores across the country, including this one in Norwich. The company brought them from the East of England Cooperative Society. Administrators say the stores will trade as normal while a buyer for the business is found. Just time for the weather now. Here with the details, Rachel Mackley.
Improvements.
And that's where we'll leave it for now. We will be back, of course, in GMTV from 6:30 tomorrow morning. But until then, good night.